Hello, this is Crystal Racing with my rather late predictions video for the 2023 F1 season. I'll hold my hands up and admit, yes, this is being filmed straight after the Bahrain Grand Prix. And I know you probably are a bit wondering what this video is going to be about. I'm going to predict the order of the F1 Constructors Teams Championship, since, of course, I'm not going to bother with the Drivers' Championship since it's a bit... yeah, I think we all know in our guts what's really going to happen with the drivers, and it's not that particularly interesting to talk about, so straight on to the constructors. Red Bull are going to win the Constructors' Championship. No doubt about it. Best car in qualifying, in the races, and arguably the best outright driver in Max Verstappen. Just in the prime of his form right now. Who knows how long he'll keep this up. Perez, steady number 2. Yes, there was that fallout between the pair of them at Brazil, but as long as Perez doesn't do anything silly or and neither of them have these sort of team order shenanigans again, everything should be fine at Milton Keynes. Second place, despite, of course, their obvious reliability issues, it's still got to be Ferrari. They only took second place by about 40 points ahead of Mercedes last year, but having said that though, Mercedes are so far behind once again, for reasons I will get on to later. Ferrari still have a fast enough car. I'm sure they will win a few races when Red Bull might slip up now and again, but as for fighting for the championship, is well out of the question now. And of course, Charles Leclerc, I've got to say, he really probably is not going to be staying at the team beyond 2024 unless he is really, really desperate to go down as a Ferrari legend. Third place, Aston Martin. Quite a bold prediction. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was deluding myself during the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend that Fernando Alonso actually had a chance of winning the World Championship. Hell, I even put down a prediction that he'd win the World Championship, but look, we're only one race into the season. We have seen drivers win a World Championship having only taken their first win of the season 4 or 5 races into the year, like Alan Prost in 1989 and Michael Schumacher in 2003. Alan Prost winning the American Grand Prix at Phoenix, Michael Schumacher winning the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, and they both came out world champions in what were then just 16 races for the whole season. Now, of course, you've also got to remember, thanks to the new rules, Aston Martin do benefit from, of course, the handicap quota system, where the lower down you finish down the constructors table from the previous year, the more development time you will be allocated, meaning more time in the wind tunnel, more time in the factory working, and more money being allowed to be spent on the car and for whatever needs to be done. I don't know whether that includes driver salaries, engineer salaries, team manager salaries, but it's very clear Aston Martin have fully taken advantage of the new regulations that were implemented in 2021, and it's coming to full effect. And with Alonso in the team, clearly motivated to still do well at the age of 42 years old, anything is possible for Aston Martin. I know it seems far-fetched to think Alonso could fight for the World Championship, but who knows? Just imagine if Perez and Max do fall out of Saudi Arabia. Let's just say they clatter into each other at turn 1, Perez gets, Sergio Perez gets pole position. Max makes a dive bomb at turn 1 and take both of themselves out of the race just like in a click of a finger. And Aston Martin outpaced not just Ferrari but also Mercedes. Sorry, I meant to say that the other way around, but, as Fernando Alonso pulls off a shock victory next time out in Jeddah. And what if, Alonso goes on like a 4 or 5 race winning streak? I know it's all preposterous, but of course, as I also need to mention, though, of course, come July or August, there will be a point in the season where, of course, the performance handicap quota allocation will of course reset itself so that it'll be the amount of money, resources, wind tunnel time will reset according to where all the teams will currently sit in the table at a certain point in the table come, like, I think after the British Grand Prix. So yeah, so of course, unfortunately, once we get to the second half of the season, of course, Aston Martin's advantage through exploiting the quota system will be, of course, curbed completely, since, of course, I think by that point, he really should be at minimum in 4th place, meaning that only, Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes get less resource time. But of course, Aston Martin's ability to exploit the regulations will be severely curbed and limited by that point, meaning that they only will have a slight advantage over the big 3 teams of Formula 1. But nonetheless, I still think Aston Martin are going to snatch P3 in the championship. P4, it's going to be Mercedes. Their zero side pods idea is not working. They're not generating enough grip. Yeah, the car's quite slippery in a straight line, but the grip and the handling through the corners is just really poor. I can expect them to have a nightmare when it comes to places like Monaco, Hungary, Singapore, because of the lack of mechanical grip. It's just, the car's just not really performing that well. It's just not got enough grip. You know, when you've got a pair of drivers like Russell and Hamilton struggling with the car, there's no hope of them even being remotely close to the championship fight. It's just not happening. And let's be honest, they'll be lucky to win at least 1 or 2 races this year. Alpine, they're going to get 5th. I mean, if they can get Ocon and Gasly performing more consistently and cutting out silly errors like, Gasly bottling Q1 and then Ocon picking up 2 penalties in the races at Bahrain, they really should be in contention to get 5th place. They've got a strong enough driver lineup. No excuses now, Fernando Alonso's not in the team bickering and moaning about certain aspects as he always does. They have got to get a crack on. And yes, I know, Ocon and Gasly have history, they fell out with each other when they were kids, but they have got to get past that sort of nonsense now. 6th place, I don't know, this might be a bit bold, but yeah, Alfa Romeo, who will be renamed Sauber in 2024, are on course to repeat their performance of finishing P6 in the championship, just like last year, because of course, now that of course Aston Martin have made it now 4 big teams at the top of the table, being able to score points for the 6 remaining teams on the grid is going to be absolutely unbelievably hard now. So really, Alfa Romeo can now get away with just having one driver, which is of course Valtteri Bottas, scoring the majority of the points. As for Zhou, I beg your pardon, he is going to let the team down quite a lot, and I think this is probably the last. This is going to be him out of the sport come the end of the year. He's not an impressive driver, to be honest. His only real strengths lie in qualifying, and even then he's not always that great. But Bottas is reliable, dependable as ever, and I think his best days will more or less outweigh his bad days, and I think he'll score enough points for the team to get P6. He did it last year. He basically single-handedly grabbed them P6 just ahead of Aston Martin, who on count back, amazingly enough, since of course he did best finish of 5th at San Marino, beat out I think Vettel's best finish of 6th at another race, I can't remember. 7th place, and I'm going to go for arguably the biggest shock of the lot. It's going to be Williams. Yeah, that's right, you heard it here first. Williams are getting P7. Like I said, the big 4 teams on the grid are now going to be scoring the majority of the points, meaning they're all realistically, at most, only going to be about 2 or 3 positions in every race that are going to offer points to the rest of the teams on the grid. As long as Albon, just like Bottas, keeps getting into those positions to score points regularly, it won't matter how much Sargeant, who of course is a rookie, struggles. they can pretty much rely on one driver to get them those big points finishes when they arrive. 8th place, it's going to be Haas. Magnussen and Hulkenberg on paper are a very decent and quick driver lineup, but as I've said before, their tyre issues, their tendency to eat up their tyres very quickly, and their poor race pace is going to be a huge problem for them once again. It's going to be, a lot of race weekends with a lot of promise, but ultimately no rewards to show for it. And yeah, I don't even know what the hell they're going to do with Verstappen, who, yeah, he's entertaining on Drive to Survive, but really, though, is he a true team leader? I'm not sure about it. And Gene Haas, I mean, I don't even know why at this point, you begin to wonder whether how determined he is to really push Haas ahead, because Haas haven't really done a lot in their time in F1. I mean, they still haven't scored a podium, and Nico Hulkenberg holds the record for most race starts without a podium, and I'm not sure he's going to change that record anytime soon. 9th place, it's AlphaTauri. Tsunoda has got everything to prove now. If he doesn't beat De Vries, that's it for him. And as for Nick De Vries, well, he's got to beat Tsunoda because, of course, he's 28 years old. He arguably should have had a seat in F1 a few years back, but, due to not having a big sponsor behind him, he's had to wait until now, since, of course, it's only when he stood in for Alex Albon at last year's Italian Grand Prix, where he managed to pull off an amazing performance to score 2 points in 9th place, and it completely exposed the TV that people have realised that De Vries could be a potentially decent midfield driver in F1, and even maybe, since of course he's AlphaTauri, become a Max's number 2 if he impresses enough. But as for AlphaTauri in 2023, I just don't see much happening for them. Maybe a couple of decent points finishes here and there, but there's not much to say about this team. They just seem to have stagnated. And of course, earlier this week, they did come out with a press statement saying that the team is not for sale. That sounds awfully similar to when football chairman come out saying, we're backing the manager. Yeah, the AlphaTauri's time in F1 is nearly up, to be honest. And do not be surprised if Red Bull find the right buyer, the right person to buy the team. The AlphaTauri name will be done for good, and Red Bull will no longer have a Junior B team in their sport, which is pretty much good news for F1. But of course, that's only as long as, of course, the new buyers actually have the cash to cough up. But of course, I think the only people I can think of that would be suitable for this would probably be Andretti Cadillac. But of course, as we all heard during the winter, a lot of the teams were not particularly keen on the idea of Michael Andretti entering a team in F1 because of the success they've had in IndyCar racing. And let's be honest, I kind of think it'll be very doubtful Red Bull would actually want to allow Michael Andretti to sneak into F1 like that, even though, of course, it would do the sport a lot of good. And in 10th place, I know it sounds absolutely unbelievable I've actually left this team so low down, but it's actually going to be McLaren. I know what you're thinking. McLaren in P10. Yes, I know in 2015 and 2017 they finished 9th place with their Honda power cars, where even with Fernando Alonso throwing his toys out of the pram, even back then things never got that bad. But the MCL 60 looks absolutely abysmal. I mean, yes, I know they started 2022 off quite poorly with Ricciardo and Norris, struggling for pace, struggling to create tyre temperatures on the hards, and just a baffling strategy. But to be honest, that was more as a result of the team following the selecting the incorrect setup and choosing the wrong tyre strategy for the race. But at Bahrain, they needed a lot of hydraulic they were losing hydraulic pressure once every 10 laps. The car just had no pace. They were slow in qualifying. The drivers just never felt comfortable. It felt, they'd have a quick lap here and there, but then all of a sudden the car would fall off very quickly with the tyre temperatures and the brake temperatures losing, dropping down, not really being able to dial the car into the track very well. I mean, this could be a really long season for McLaren, and I actually think they've just simply designed an absolute disaster car, really. They just look so unprofessional, which I know sounds weird, but the team has lost their way. All the progress they made between 2019 and 2021 has evaporated. What can be said, we all had a go at Alonso for his bad team choices over the years, choosing the wrong teams at the wrong moment, but, by leaving McLaren and leaving Alpine, he actually left those two teams for a good reason, and I think this season, 2023, is going to prove Fernando Alonso finally got something right. He's not a clown who just, runs off on emotion like, people, but a lot of his haters and detractors like to make out, such as myself. I will hold my hands up and apologise to Fernando. And I would not be surprised if Fernando actually managed to win 3 or 4 races this year, and maybe, possibly if Red Bull do something really stupid, he could be in championship contention at some point this season. It's not very likely he's going to win the championship, but who knows? Who knows, okay? Anything can happen in F1, and who knows? What if Red Bull get into another scandal? Who knows? And then we're talking, and then Aston Martin will be cooking. Thank you for watching. This has been Crystal Racing over and out.